Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news. Lots to talk about this morning. Jobs for the boys. Solskjaer left exposed. Look, we'll also be talking about Sancho as a right wing back. Pogba injured. Lots and lots of things to update you on. This week off that's left the players surprised. The first thing I want to say is that I still think Solskjaer is going to get the sack. I do. I believe it's going to happen because it has to happen, because it's what a competent football club does when the results are bad, when the fans have turned and the players have had enough. They are only keeping him in a job because they're trying to find a replacement. But what we are operating in now is a world which we knew was going to happen. We're going to walk into a PR spin. This morning we wake up and Jadon Sancho is going to be a right wing back. They are going to try and figure out ways that will take your mind away from the absolutely ridiculous situation we're in, the embarrassing situation, and make you think about other things. Because what they've got to do is what they did after the Liverpool result. They've got to dilute your frustration at the football club so that those algorithms twist the other way and they can stick with this situation if they have to. That's what United are going to try and do. We're going to get spin. There might be a transfer story. There might be something. They need something. And also, I've got something very important on a personal thing I need to tell everybody as well, which I'll tell you in a minute. But also, what I think is absolutely appalling, is that the club, Ole probably doesn't realise this, but I do, and I'm sure many of you do. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been completely hung out to dry by this football club. Completely hung out to dry. If they want him, and they want to keep him, there should be a public statement that they're going to keep him. They haven't done that. They've sent him on holiday. They're looking to replace him. They may well end up keeping him, but they've not said they're keeping him. There's been little leaks about they expect him to be in charge against Watford. There's no vote of confidence. They've not backed him. And ultimately, Solskjaer now operates in this area between the board that won't stand with him, the fans that don't want him, the players that think he should go, and then Ole Gunnar Solskjaer on his own. Basically, just taking all the flack. The club should protect that manager if they're going to stick with him, and then they take the flak for making that decision. It's very, very clear to me that Manchester United Football Club, who are meant to be so good at communicating, have not put a statement out. Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich, other clubs would put a statement out one way or the other and say, we're backing the manager. They should have backed the manager. That's what they should have done. If they're backing the manager and they want everyone to know that he's going to be in charge against Watford, come out and say he's in charge against Watford, and then everyone can go straight for the board and say they're the incompetent people because Ole can't sack himself. But they're leaving it in this situation now whereby what they're doing is, there was even a story this morning, the players are surprised that they've got a week off. The manager is surprised that he's got a week off. They've cancelled a friendly. Now, some people say, well, they all need they need a break. I'll say what I said last night. No way in a million years does a football man like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer say, yeah, I'll take an extended holiday. Well, yeah, you could do with a break, Ole. Go and have a little bit of a break. He needs to be working on Watford. He's talking about Jadon Sancho as a right wing back. Let's go on holiday. Try it on FIFA, Jadon. It just doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't make any sense. But look, the incompetence reigns. I still think they're going to make a change, but I think what the problem is now is that the reason they won't make a change is if over the next few days the fans calm down, everyone forgets about Man City and Liverpool, and they just sort of go, well, we'll get away with it for another game. But as I said on Twitter, our next 4 games, Watford, Chelsea, Palace, Arsenal. I think 6 points max from those 12. And that will take us, I believe, to over 10 points off 4th place. And then they'll sack him anyway, which is what they should have done anyway. So I think they're walking straight into the trap of what's going to happen. They really are. But look, there's lots of things I want to talk about this morning. I just want to get this in here because I know apparently I was trending yesterday. I don't want to trend because when I trend, this sort of thing happens. Remember a couple of weeks ago, I replied to an ex-footballer and I said it was a brave thing to do because... Not because it's brave, because brave is very close to stupid. Now, when you get in the replies of a Harry Maguire or an ex-player, it brings a lot of attention to the channel, right? So, and I know the reason I said it was brave is not because, oh, look at me. It's because I know what that means. I know what that's going to mean. These people, whether it's Manchester United, ex-players, media, or anything like that, they're not going to pick the phone up and go, that was an interesting point, let's do a show together. They're going to go, they don't want that to happen. They don't want that to happen, but their pride's hurt. So what they do is they start digging. People start digging around because, basically in life, and I've been in this situation in previous lives. I'm not reincarnated, but previous jobs. People that are bitter about something because they could never accept that maybe people like that. I don't like it myself, but maybe people like it. I'll let them crack on. They've got to find a reason that they're successful because, they're negative. They're doing it for the money. He's not even a United fan. He's this, he's that, he's the other, right? I've spent time this morning safeguarding the people that are close to me because of some of the stuff that was said yesterday. I'm surprised by that. I'm very surprised by that because apparently if you say a footballer's shit, that's harassment. But if you start, telling lies about people publicly and, basically threatening them, that's absolutely fine, even though we're all just talking about football here. So I just want to say this from a personal level because I know that these people watch this show. I got a phone call this morning from somebody that I've known for years and they said, I didn't realise you got sacked from the police. I went, what are you on about? He said, well, there's quite a lot of people putting it out on Twitter and stuff like that. I said, I didn't get sacked from the police. What are you on about? And I'm like, well, these people are putting it out there. And I'm like, can you send me a screenshot of it? So they sent me a screenshot of it. I passed it on to the relevant people. I'm like, I did not get sacked from the police. Absolutely not. I specialised in something. I got promoted and then I left to go and work in the banking industry in what I'd specialised in. This is bloody ridiculous. I am not a Forest fan. I am from Nottingham. I am not a Forest fan. I haven't even been anywhere near the Forest ground since I was a kid. I don't even like Nottingham. I don't like Nottingham. I like Dublin. I like where I live now. I like Manchester. I like York. I like Chester. I like London. I don't like Nottingham. I've got nothing against it, but I actually don't like it as a city very much at all. And I haven't lived there for bloody years. So these people who are putting this stuff out there, and as for making money off the club, I could do a video on Thursday, Goldbridge makes a cup of tea and I'll make money off it. If I'm that bothered about money, I could do Cameo, calling people a prat and doing birthday messages. We do the United Stand. We started it off with like hardly anybody watching and it's grown. And sometimes I think it has grown beyond anything anybody ever imagined. But if you don't like it, don't watch it. And as I always say, Gary Neville, the club, any fan group, we're more than happy to have a conversation. And we have had conversations with fan groups in the past. They might not like the United Stand. They might not get what it's all about. It's a modern phenomenon, I get it. But we've donated to funds. We will continue to do that. We will continue to assist. We're always open to anything. And the bottom line is it's about being passionate about what's important for your football club. But I will draw the line at the reality is I've got 3 young children, I'm a married man, and I'm not having that sort of stuff levelled against it. And this, unfortunately, conversations have had to happen this morning with legal people about it. Because you can disagree with the opinion of people on this channel, you can disagree with anybody's opinion, but you can't put lies out about people because you're bitter and twisted and don't like the fact that people like talking about their football club and having an opinion. It's ridiculous. But I knew this would happen. The minute you start putting your head above the parapet and say, I disagree with you, against big, powerful people who don't actually want to speak to you, but they don't like the fact that you've got into their replies, these things start happening. People start spreading rumours and lies about, he tried to do this, they tried to do that, and it's absolutely nonsense. And it's such a sad state of affairs, because if you call a footballer shit, you're harassing them. But if they start putting lies about you and your private life and threatening it, that's open season. It's so ridiculous. I've got a lot of time for any United fan who wants to have a chat about Manchester United. I think we've got a fantastic away support. We've got fantastic supporters from all around the world. There are people who live, breathe and die for this club. They would do. Everybody's got entitled to an opinion, and that's what it's all about. But I tell you what, it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, the crap that people will put out there about you to try and justify their own bitterness. And I just think that needed to be said, because you know what, this channel isn't just about me. There's other people involved in it, but there are plenty of other channels out there. There are plenty of other websites. And I tell you what, if people don't like it, start your own. Like, literally, start doing it yourself. Like, because it's not going anywhere. It's not going to stop. It's the new world. And that's just the way it's going to be. And the sad thing is, you might not be very happy about the United Stand, but 100% it's run by United fans. There is nobody above it. And there are others out there that are owned by people who have nothing to do with United, who just want a bit of the United pie. The United Stand's not. There's a few of them that are not. There's a few of them that are. So you might want to avert your eyes to somebody else, because it's certainly not this. You might not like the opinions, you don't have to watch it, but 100% we're always open to having conversations with anybody if they disagree with things. Fan cams, we got contacted by during COVID about fan cams and said, look, a lot of the match going fans don't like fan cams. They don't like the way there's crowds there, it's embarrassing, people start screaming and shouting. We had a grown-up conversation. I said, I don't really like them myself. We're looking at doing something a little bit different. We'd rather do sort of vlogs where there's not a big crowd and everything like that. Happy, you know. I'm so pleased someone else says they don't like Nottingham. Like you, I was born there but would live anywhere else but here. Great show, mate, says Tracy Taylor. Look, nothing against people from Nottingham. I've got a lot of friends there. I've got family there. But I didn't grow up in the city of Nottingham. I grew up I grew up closer to Leicester than I did Nottingham. And I never liked going into Nottingham. I just don't like the city. There's just something about it I just do not like. And I haven't been back into Nottingham city centre for probably 15 years. And even in the last 30 years, I've probably been in there. I can count it on my hand. So I just don't like it. But there you go. Sorry to people from Nottingham. You know, I've already upset Leyton Orient fans. Now I'll upset Nottingham. There's nothing wrong with Nottingham. I just don't. I prefer Dublin's the place. I love Dublin. Dublin for me. Dublin. I love York. I don't know why. I could do a video on Goldbridge's top cities, make some money off it. You know, it's just ridiculous. Anyway, look, it's a morning show. We've drifted there, but I did want to get that out. And you know, I often get Goldbridge doesn't go to games. I'd love him to. I wouldn't tire of kicking the shit out of Goldbridge if I saw him at Old Trafford. Oh, great, really, really good. So why are you going to do that then? Because whilst you're kicking the shit out of me, I'll try and talk to you and say, so what's this kick for? What's this punch for? What's this stamp for? Oh, you've just broken my jaw. Why have you done that then? Is it just pure hate, or are you actually hating because of the lies you believe? Oh, it's because you're a Forest fan. It's because you're a fake. It's because you're a fraud. It's because you're this, you're that. I said, right, not true. Oh, you're still kicking me. You still. Oh, look, you've broken my arm now. Great. Okay. So basically, it's because we talk about something you disagree with, right? Okay. When are you going to beat Piers Morgan up? When are you going to beat up the BBC news correspondent? When are you going to beat the MP that you don't like up? I mean, it's just ridiculous. It is ridiculous how angry and bitter these people get. But I'm telling you now, a lot of you are getting angry and bitter about lies that you have to believe because you have to believe that because something you don't like, you have to believe something bad about them. It's sad. It's really sad. But look, let's get on with the show. And I felt I needed to put it out there because when you're having to have phone calls like I've had this morning about putting, you know, again, my main priority is that my kids have got no interest in what I do. And if you've got kids or family yourself, you've got to protect them. And that's what it's about, safeguarding them. Because some of the stuff that's being put out there and people are saying is just ridiculous. Ridiculous for people who are talking about a football club. And bringing it back to the football club, you know, you put your head above the parapet, you make yourself a target. The club are never going to pick up the phone to the United stand and say, what do you think? They're arrogant. These ex-players are never going to pick up the phone and say, let's do a show together. They're arrogant. So what do? They start, you know, people start, you know, I'm not saying they're anything to do with this. I'm not saying that. But certainly they'll start believing the shit and the lies that gets put out there. And then it's very, very sad. But we'll keep doing what we're doing. And as I said, the door's always open for these people to have a proper conversation. And let's see. The reality of the situation is that the way the football club's being run at the moment isn't good enough. It's not good enough. It's incompetent. And when you look at it, I do believe that Manchester United are trying to sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. They're just not very good at it. And I think that, you know, jobs for the boys is the title. We're hearing that Ed Woodward is now going to stay on at the club in an advisory role. Now, I don't think Ed Woodward leaving the club's going to make a massive difference anyway. For me, Ed Woodward is like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. If you sack Solskjaer but you keep Carrick and McKenna and Phelan, you don't solve the problem. If you sack Ed Woodward or Ed Woodward resigns, you've still got Arnold, Judge, the Glazers. So it doesn't make a massive difference, Ed Woodward leaving to me anyway. I always felt that was overhyped. But the fact that he's staying on, well, I'm sorry, Ed, you've been completely incompetent. Look, I don't like... Look, when people turned up at... Ed Woodward's house and started bloody, you know, doing what they did. I don't agree with that because that's private life. You shouldn't be doing that. But when you're talking about an underperforming performance or when you're talking about an underperforming CEO, without question, it's been an absolute shambles the last 8 years under Ed Woodward as CEO. On the balance sheet, it's probably been fine. But in relation to how he's run the football club, the football side of things, it's been crap. We've not been in a proper title race. The cups we've won are sort of Poundland. You know, the Europa League's the Poundland Champions League. The Carabao Cup's the Poundland FA Cup. So we have won trophies, but they've not been that good. I mean, we'd love any of them now. It's been a poor running of the club, and it continues to be like that. And it is jobs for the boys. And look, I don't know how accurate this was, but I did say that I would read it out today on the show. So look, take it with a pinch of salt if you want to. But it was from a chat group I'm part of on Twitter. It's a really good one. And they asked me to read this out. Now, I know at least some of it's true, but please do take it with a pinch of salt because, you know, there's always two sides to a story. But it was a detailing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's coaching staff, jobs for the boys. Okay, so you've got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Did well at Mulder, but sacked at Cardiff for tinkering his team and, you know, no style of play. What's going on at United? McKenna, apparently he failed at Tottenham. I don't know whether that's true. I think McKenna was wanted by Liverpool, to be fair. Carrick became a coach straight after being a player with Manchester United. And Mike Phelan, factually Hull City's worst ever manager, and was at Central Coast Mariners in Australia signing Usain Bolt before he came here. Mawson, relegated twice at Burnley. Martin Pert, relegated Cardiff with Ollie, sacked from Vancouver Whitecaps after finishing 8th. Clegg, relegated Sunderland twice, no other experience, I think. Meredith, relegated St Pauli, no other experience. Hawkins, relegated West Brom, failed at Sheffield United and England. Mark Dempsey, relegated Cardiff with Ollie. Billingsley, relegated Sunderland, and people wonder why we're performing like this. So, I mean, it's just a list of some of the coaching staff that have underperformed. But what I found interesting about that was not that coaching staff had underperformed, is that they're all heavily linked mates for the race, aren't mates race. Like, everybody seems to know each other. As a club, we've got no ambition, says Andre. I miss the days where we smashed teams at Old Trafford. Berbatov with 5 goals, Ronaldo in the noughties, says Andre. Well, that's what United should be doing. Ike, thank you very much for your message. And willing seller, Mark. You are not forcing anyone to watch your content. Keep up the good work. I hope Ollie will sack will happen soon, says Xan. And it's ridiculous you have to protect your family for having an opinion. Some people are just low for doing that, says Arjun. I don't mind people disagreeing with what we are as a community, but what I'll draw the line at is that people who are spreading lies, tweeting out lies, it's just ridiculous. You know, get your violins out. It's ridiculous, really. Hi, Mark. Enjoy the intelligent analysis and the witty remarks. Learned a bit about football while listening to you, says Tony. And you know what? These coaches are cheap. Don't cost much, says Michael Mailer. But the thing is, I just see myself as an instrument. You know, I learn things all the time. You know, like that big list that we just went through there. But what I do want to say is that, you know, if you do see that sort of stuff, you know the truth now, because I've done videos in the past, I will always come out and react to stuff if it's, you know, damaging or lies, because it's just not true. Mark, I've seen that account on Twitter lying about you passing the job the last week. I've reported it when I've come across it. Stay strong, says Amit. Well, I appreciate that, mate, because as I said, I will hit things face on, because it's just not true. And as I said, I'm more than happy to have a conversation with anybody. But you know what? They're not going to have a conversation, are they? You're not going to get in a room with an ex-player and have a conversation with them, because they've already nailed their flag to the mast about their bias. And I get that. That's fine. You know, you stick with that. But what I do believe that's going to happen at Manchester United now is that, as we said last night, this holiday for Ollie and the players is weird. This cancellation of a friendly is weird. You know, here's a bit of PR spin for you this morning. Jadon Sancho, Athletic, right? Jadon Sancho, this is out The Athletic. I think it's Laurie Whitwell, who's very close to the club. So you can start to see this is spin. Manchester United were really impressed with Jadon Sancho as the way he was taking people on against Man City, despite the fact that we weren't playing well. They're not impressed with Aaron Wan-Bissaka's attacking ability, so they're now thinking about using Jadon Sancho as a right wing back. And I'm like, you know, how stupid do you think we are? You need to sack the manager. The club has been embarrassed over the last month, really. You know, absolutely embarrassed by Man City a few hours ago. Well, I say a few days ago. Liverpool was an embarrassment. And you're putting stories out about Jadon Sancho being a right wing back, and this is how out of touch you are. Because what you think is, oh, fans like Sancho, club's in a mess. This is how this works, right? Club's in a mess. Fans like Sancho. Talk about Sancho being in the first team. It will start to make people forget. But it's not going to make people forget. It's probably going to make people more irritated, because Jadon Sancho cost 74 million. He's hardly been used. That's because you've got an incompetent manager. Fans aren't going to start backing Ole again because he uses Sancho as a right wing back. Fans are pissed off about the Sancho situation because Ole bought him, didn't use him. And using him as a right wing back, why is he on holiday for a week then? What if we're going to use Sancho as a right wing back? Why are we all on holiday for a week? Jadon Sancho's not a right wing back, he's a right winger. Manchester United weren't meant to be playing a back five, we're meant to be playing a 4-2-3-1 until Ole blew it against Liverpool, didn't get the sack and is now trying to be some sort of wish Antonio Conte. This is spin and it's nonsense, and they're going to try and spin it over the next few days, and it's down to you what you decide to do. I personally think they're going to sack Solskjaer. That's where I am at the moment. Some people want to protest, some people want to forget about it, some people are very angry. It's up to you what you do. But what the club will do, because they've admitted it themselves, they put videos out about what they do with the players and stuff, they're going to try and spin. They need something to spin about, and they're going to try and spin. And they're going to try and spin some positivity. And what they're doing that reason for is, right here, right now, they know Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should be sacked, and they know that they're looking who they can bring in. And people will go, well, they could bring loads of people in, but they don't want to bring loads of people in. They want a specific puppet on a string to come in, which is probably why they won't go for Rangnick. It's why they didn't go for Conte, because these people are competent and they're vocal in their competency. They want a timid little mouse to be in charge of the football club so that they can manipulate them. If they can't find someone like that, they'll stick with the one they've got. That's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But the problem is they can't stick with the one that they've got, and they haven't publicly come out and backed the one that they've got, because if they know if they do that, there's going to be uproar. So what they're doing is they're living in this halfway house. They're looking for a replacement. They've sent Ole on holiday, and they've given themselves a couple of days to make a decision. What they're going to do in that couple of days is they're going to look for a replacement, but they're also going to look at you lot and see how you're reacting. And if you think the anger and frustration and need for change is up there at the moment, and if it stays up there, they'll be forced to make a change. But if it starts dropping down, they'll go, well, that graph's heading down. This is heading down, we're going to get away with it. And that's what they'll do. That's what United have done. And that's probably what they've said to Ole. We need you out of the way for a couple of days whilst we get this under control. And then by the end of the week, when you come back, it won't be as bad as it is now, and then you can carry on. If it stays up there, they'll be forced to make a decision. It's simple marketing, PR business. That's what they're doing. They're following a model and a strategy that's been well established in this area, and I'm not even talking about football, for probably 20 years. It's classic spin. And that's what they're doing. They take Ole out of the way. They don't want any pictures out there. They don't want anything to antagonise the fans. You take the problem away. I've seen people do it on social media. They put a dodgy tweet out or they do something dodgy and they'll just disappear off social media for 2 weeks. And people will go, well, they're finished. They're not finished. They're just trying to ride the storm out. And I think that's exactly what United are doing. I can't criticise it, really. If they're trying to do that, they want to probably keep Solskjaer in charge because it's about money as well. People don't think about it from this point of view. If you're Manchester United and if you're the Glazers or Ed Woodward and you don't support Manchester United, your job is to make money and get dividends. Sacking Solskjaer and Carrick and everyone's going to probably cost you around 15 million. To replace them is probably going to cost you about 20 million. That's 35 million quid. 35 million to sack Solskjaer and bring in people who are competent. Do you think money people want to spend 35 million pounds? So when they're having their boardroom meeting on Monday morning, and the football person says you need to sack him, the players aren't happy, the fans aren't happy, the season's going to shit, you do need to sack him, and then you've got the business person saying, so how much is it going to cost? 35 million. Don't really want to do that. How do we get through this? Right, you send Solskjaer and the players away for a couple of days and we see if we can ride out the storm. And if we can't, we'll have to make a change. But if we can, we just carry on as it is. I think this is a business decision. And as I said last night, the club's incompetent enough not to sack Solskjaer and keep him. But I don't think it's anything to do with football. In fact, it can't be anything to do with football. So Woodward could be staying, the club rewarding failure again, says Reese. This is just extra proof that a competent director of football is what we need. It takes pressure off Glazers in a situation like this. Spurs got Conte because of Patrici, says Aram. We need Potter. That would be a big win, says Eric. And have you seen the article on Manchester Evening News that Rangnick is a main target for replacements? It's on their Twitter. I hope it's going to happen, Daniel. I really do. I still think it will happen. The reason I think it's going to happen is because I'm a football man, and I think you look at what Villa's done, you look at what Spurs have done, you look at what Norwich have done, you look at what we've done against Leicester and Man City and Liverpool. I mean, 3 of our last 4 Premier League games we've been smashed. He shouldn't be in a job. Forget about whether you've got sympathy or not. I have got sympathy, but he shouldn't be in a job. That's the bottom line. He should not be in a job. But also, you can be in a board meeting. I'd love to be in a board meeting for Manchester United. I wouldn't start screaming and shouting. All I would say is, look, I understand you don't want to spend 35 million. I understand you want to get dividends. I understand that you want to make profits. But understand this. We're not getting top 4 if you don't make the change. We're not getting top 4 if you don't make the change. And that's going to cost you tens of millions of pounds. So look, boo-hoo. Boo-hoo-hoo. You're going to lose money replacing Solskjaer and getting a recruitment a new manager in. But you're going to lose more than that if you don't. We are 5 points off 4th place. And we have got 4 games where we will not take any more than 6 points. Whereas others might take 7, 8, 9, 10 points. We will be 10 points off top 4 by the time we come into mid-December. And you can look at those fixtures and go, yeah, they're all winnable. Since when have we ever been a team that wins loads of games? We're a fine margins team under Ollie. We're a reactive team. You can go, we're playing Brentford, we'll beat them 4-0. We won't do that because they've got a better coach. And Ollie will set us up to be reactive to that better coach. And we might draw the game, and that's another 2 points, and then we're 12 points off 4th. This is only heading one way. And I tell you what, wake up and smell the coffee, because if you make the change now, you could still get top 4. If you don't make the change now, you're walking headfirst into a footballing mess. And that's why you need to make the change. And that's why I think they will make the change, because there's got to be somebody somewhere, whether it's a player, whether it's somebody on the board going, you know what, we're heading towards a mess here, we need to make the change. It's time for full-blown protest demanding a structural change, else this cycle will keep on repeating, says Amy. Well, I think the point about a director of football, and Patrici at Spurs was a great recruitment. I was surprised he went for Nuno, but obviously they've changed that around very, very quickly. But Murtagh, who's our director of football, he's been at the club for years already. He's a good mate of Woodward. He's a good mate of Ollie. He's not a competent director of football. He's just not. That doesn't mean he can't be one, but he's not a competent one. He's not a specialist. It's a mates. It's jobs for the boys. Manchester United is jobs for the boys. Ed Woodward's. A lot of people thought I'd be really angry that Ed Woodward's staying on. I'm not. I don't actually think Ed Woodward leaving is that big a deal. Him staying on is just compounding the incompetence. But as I said, Woodward going doesn't make a massive amount of difference. You've still got the Glazers and you've still got a lot of the board. Man United needs new owners. We know that. We're nowhere near that happening. But if that's not going to happen, you need a director of football and you need a manager who are competent. You could... But the problem is the board won't allow it. They want puppets on a string. The way United... I mean, look, even with the Glazers staying and Woodward staying, United could be a better run club footballing wise if we had a director of football who was allowed to do his job and a specialist, and a manager with a coaching team who were good at their job and specialists. Unfortunately, we've got a very, very money motivated board and CEO, and then we've got a very inexperienced and will do as they tell us director of football and coaching staff, and that compounds the incompetence at the top. It always surprises me actually, because I think yesterday Rio Ferdinand did a video finally sort of saying Ollie out in a polite way, and I think somebody tagged Gary Neville into it and said, are you going to do that now? You know, you can be Ollie out in a, you know, and still not betray your mates. And he was like, no thanks. And it surprises me really, because he's very good at calling out the incompetence at the top, but shit rolls downhill. And the reason, you know, we're incompetent at the top, and that infects it. I mean, Mourinho should have been sacked, Van Gaal should have been sacked, but I do wonder whether, well, I 100% think that Mourinho would have done a better job and Van Gaal would have done a better job if they'd had the board of a Bayern Munich or a Manchester City or a Chelsea. They both deserve the sack, and I'm not convinced either of them were going to take us back to the top like Sir Alex did, but I think they would have done better. And considering Van Gaal won an FA Cup and Mourinho won a Europa League, came second and won a Carabao Cup, and they did that with a board that was in... I don't think people talk about this enough. You know, you think about what Mourinho and Van Gaal did. I found their football really hard to watch, and I wanted them both to be sacked in the end. But I do agree that they would have done a better job. How much better, we don't know, if they'd had a proper board. Well, look, Solskjaer's not very good at his job, but he has to have the same excuse as well. Although he's had a lot of money to spend, you know, so you could argue it with that. I mean, look, there's no excuses for Ollie. He shouldn't be in charge anymore. But what I'm saying is the board is a very, very difficult board to work under. And I would imagine that's one reason Zidane doesn't want the job. Could you please wish my boys Shafiq and Rafiq a happy 14th birthday, says Gullum. Thank you very much for the chat and happy birthday. Hope you have a great day, lads. And do you think the board watched your career mode and decided they want the Conference League and Carabao Cup because Moments FC worked for you, says Thomas? The great thing about my career mode, big up the Goldbridge career mode, it'll be back this afternoon at 3 o'clock on Twitch. And I'm going to do a bit of a Q&A at 2 o'clock today as well, because I really want to blast into some of the questions. I realise that it's such a hard time at the moment, and there's so much news, and whilst it's great to get your questions in, I just want to do a show at 2 o'clock where it's loads and loads of your questions and stuff like that, because almost a therapy session for us all. But the great thing about my career mode is that I've got the controller and you can't sack me. The only thing that's going to sack me is a power cut. But in real life, United fans are not going to put up with this. Players are not going to put up for this. I mean, I said this about Ronaldo. Let's go again, says Matt. I said this with Ronaldo. Look, Ronaldo's not going to play in the Europa League next year, and you know that would be the one thing I would say to Woodward if I could have a chat with him. I'd say, mate, I wouldn't even say that. I'd say, look, at the end of the day, we're not going to finish in the top 4 under this regime, and Ronaldo's not going to stay, is he? Because he's got it in his contract. I guarantee it's in his contract. If we're in the Europa League, he can leave. So what the hell are you doing? Like, the time isn't even now. It was after the Liverpool game. You've got to act now. If you want Ronaldo at this football club next season, you've got to act now. Get somebody in who can get us top 4, because Ole ain't going to get us top 4. He might, but there's a very big chance he's not. And the reason he's not is because his United team is nowhere near as good as Arsenal or West Ham. So you're praying that they get injuries or something like that. We're not good enough under this coach, but under a proper coach, we will be good enough. And on top of that, Paul Pogba might sign that contract you want him to sign. Donny van der Beek might not have to be sold at a loss. Anthony Martial could turn into a really good player again. Amad Diallo, you might actually get some value out of a player that's meant to be brilliant. I would argue that Van Gaal and Mourinho didn't even have the same board as Ole. He's been backed more than any manager, says Aaron. I think Ole's been backed more than any manager, yeah. I mean, Moyes, to his credit, he's done a great job at West Ham. I never wanted him at Manchester United, and I was so happy when he got the sack because he just wasn't a United manager. And Moyes at West Ham is not a Liverpool manager. He's not a Man City manager. He's not even an Arsenal manager. He's a West Ham, Everton manager. That is Moyes' ceiling. But he didn't really get backed. We can win trophies with a good director, football and manager regardless of our rubbish owners. I think Ole will go this week. Fancy some Fall Guys later, by the way, Mark says Steekel. I will be doing it at Fall Guys on Saturday. Remember, I've got my charity stream on Saturday. All-day stream. Unless they sack Ole, in which case I'll have to do that and rearrange it. But this is the 4th year in a row that we're going to do the all-day stream, raising money again for people with terminal illness and cancer, the Marie Curie Centre. I started it a few years ago because one of my friends who was like, I think he was 41 at the time, a young family, died of cancer. A few weeks later, my gran died. I mean, she was 80, so she'd had a, I don't like the word good innings, but there was a massive difference to that. And also, sadly, another family friend died of cancer. Literally, I'm going to the funeral a week tomorrow. Young again, left a young child behind and a husband. So very important. And the interesting thing for us as a community is that I think over 4 years we've raised something like 50 grand, but we did the NHS one, which was 22 grand. So we could go over £100,000 of money raised for charity on Saturday, which would be amazing. And people talk about the negativity about having fan channels and everything like that. I've always been very eager that we have a community and that you use that community for good as much as possible. Like we donated towards the protests, the banners and that. We put money up for that. We've done the Manchester and Munich Memorial Foundation for a few years as well. Always looking to get involved in things that are going to benefit the club. And obviously from a charitable point of view, it's really important as well. So that will be on Saturday. Remember the 98 treble win with Ole? We're going places, says Ed Woodward. And who would be the most possible person to replace Ole, says Ken? Mate, there's people employed to do that. I know you in the chat will have lots of people, and we spoke about it last night. I mean, to me, there's 2 names that come out straight away. Ranić's very obvious and clearly wants the job. He's definitely briefed Christian Folk. And I think Laurent Blanc could take the job as well. I've always liked Laurent Blanc. As I said, check out Mark Goldbridge, Laurent Blanc video from 3 years ago, just before Mourinho was sacked. There's something there with him. And as an interim, I think he'd be very, very good. But look, you'd have to pay a bit of money because he's probably earning good money. I think he's over in Dubai. But there's always options. Of course there is. Just to bring you a little bit up to date on some other news. So Pogba, he's got a thigh injury. I mean, it's so interesting. I mean, normally we would be headline news in an international break, Pogba injury. But of course, the red card against Liverpool means he can't play against Watford. So he's back. I think he would be back for the Chelsea game, but obviously with the injury, I don't think he'll be back for that as well. I mean, Laurent Blanc's not really an old boy, Eugene. He was only there for a couple of years. But yeah, I think Pogba will be out for... I don't think we'll see Pogba this side of Christmas. I really, really don't. I think that... And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because I don't feel like Paul Pogba is engaged with Manchester United at the moment anyway, is he? It feels to me like, he's just not part of the plan. Pogba's out for 8 to 10 weeks, just when I thought our season couldn't get any worse. That's from Ferguson Way on Twitter. Thank you everybody for that. So I mean that doesn't surprise me, and I literally wrote Pogba to talk about this morning. Again, don't get sidetracked. You're all going to start worrying about Pogba, and Pogba's going to start trending, and it takes you away from the big. If it's important to you, the big point to focus on is why is Solskjaer still the manager. Yes, Pogba being injured is a bad thing, but Ole's not used Pogba very well anyway. A new manager would probably like to use him, but there are Pogba. I don't think we were going to see much of Pogba anyway. Under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he may as well be out injured for 8 to 10 weeks anyway, and I'm sure he is injured this time. But Ole wasn't going to use Pogba. Pogba was as isolated as he's ever been in his career, and he's going to leave as well. So, by the time Paul Pogba comes back from injury, he'll be able to talk to other clubs. We probably won't see Pogba playing for United again under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, hardly at all. So there's another incentive. Spin it that way. Use your own spin. Pogba's out for 8 to 10 weeks. By the time he comes back, it'll be January when he can talk to other clubs, which means he's basically left. If Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's gone and you've got a new manager, there's your chance. Remember when you said Ole out actually trending? Let's hope it's something we all look back on and laugh on when we win the treble in 3 years, says Football Live 69. Glazers treat us like kids. They give us a lollipop. We forget the main point. Last protests were good, but we let the fire go out. Glazers out, says Shamal. Well, look, you've got two sides of the coin here. You've got the Glazers, who are basically... I don't really know what they want. I don't know whether they want to make a change, but they're going to make a change, or whether they want to make a change, but they want to keep Ole if they can spin this around. You've got fans who, in the main, want to change. The next 48 hours, I think, is massive. Ole's away. The players are away. United aren't just sat there going, what's going on? I think United are trying to get an interim in and also monitoring how the fan base is. And as I say, if they're struggling to get an interim at the fan base is losing the momentum of a manager change, losing interest, whatever, they'll probably stick with Ole for a bit longer. You need to keep it up. If you want change, you need to keep it up. You need to keep vocal. I know it's Tuesday and it's an international break, but you need to keep it up, because if you don't keep it up, the club will just say, look, we've won again. They did it with the Liverpool game. But what my message to the club would be, stop looking at your algorithms, stop spinning the PR, and look at the situation. Our last 3 Premier League games, we've been battered. Rodgers tactically schooled us, Klopp destroyed us, and Pep destroyed us. But more than that, Atalanta were better than us. It's only a worldie by Ronaldo that got us a point there. Spurs is our only positive out of our last 5 games during that international break, that period between international breaks. And Spurs sacked their manager. They were so crap. We are not playing well. The players are not playing well. The fans are not happy. This is not going to be solved by sticking by him for Watford. Because even if we beat Watford, we're playing Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. We're crap at Stamford Bridge, and Chelsea are better than us. They will beat us. And then we'll be 3 points lost again. And the gap, we were looking at a title race. We're now looking at 4th place. We're 5 points off it. It's going to get bigger and bigger. And then what will happen is we'll be 12 points off 4th place at some point, and they'll go, we need to sack him, and it'll be too late by then. Remember what happened. The club need to learn from Mourinho. They sacked Mourinho too late. They should have sacked Mourinho in early November, late October. They waited until we were... How many points off fourth were we when they sacked Mourinho after the Liverpool result? I think we were like 12 or something like that. And Ole went on a great run. He had a song written about him. Did he finish fourth? No. Even with that amazing run, he didn't get fourth place. You can't make the same mistake again. And they're going to walk head first into it with their eyes wide open and go, let's see if Ole can turn it round. Oh, he didn't. Oh, let's sack him because we're now miles off fourth. And then a new manager comes in and they can't close the gap. You make the change now, they might close that gap and get us into top four. And look, this season shouldn't be about top four, and we should be moaning from the rooftops about why it's about top four. I think Simon Stone or somebody tweeted yesterday that this season's now about fourth place for Manchester United, and he's right. That's a disgrace in itself. But that's what the club have inflicted on us. You know, Ronaldo won't be happy with that. I'm sure a lot of our players won't be happy with that. But it's very much about fourth place at the moment. That's going to become very difficult if they don't make the change. And look, if you do make the change, maybe a manager comes in, gets us back in the fourth race, some of the teams at the top drop points, and you start getting back into it. I mean, I'm talking shit there. But look, the change needs to happen. We know that. Did you see the tweet that Gary Neville posted yesterday where a member of the PR social team at Man United exposed the players? Yes, Karim, we've spoken about it a few times. I mean, look, United can't hide away from this. They employ people to spin the media and manipulate. That's what they do. And, you know, to be fair, other clubs will do it as well. But that's where we are in this period now is an experiment. 48 hours. Ollie's not here. The players aren't training. It's what you call a cool zone. Ollie's out the way. The players are out the way. Let's see what happens in here. If the fan opinion about sacking the manager dilutes, we're going to get away with it. If it keeps going, we're going to have to make the change. And I think the next 48 hours are key. And I think people will keep demanding the change. And I think people at the club will wake up to it. And I think players will be saying, you need to do it as well. I think they'll do it. I think the only way as I said last night, if Ole stays, he's only staying because the club didn't get an interim. That's all it is. If they had Pochettino there now, Ole's... Look, this is the best sentence of the lot. If Pochettino was free now, that Ole would be gone. If Brendan Rodgers was free now, Ole would be gone. If Zidane wanted this job now, Ole would be gone. That's the situation. We're in a very different position to what the media wants to tell you. Have the club come out and said, we're backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? No. Have the club sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? No. So what's going on? Well, we know what's going on. They're trying to buy time. They're trying to look at options. They don't want to spend the money. I feel bad for Ole because I think he's on his own. Like, the club haven't hugged him and said, we're with you, because if they do that, everyone's going to go mad at the club and say, what are you on about? And he's not been sacked. So they've left. Ole's been exposed. The club would sack him in a heartbeat if they had the replacement. And that's the situation. And what sort of situation is that to be in? We don't really want you as manager, but we're going to keep you because we can't get anybody else. That's not a future. And it's certainly not how Manchester United should be run. My biggest fear is they won't replace Pogba when he leaves. McFred will be our midfield. Anabath, if we get rid of Ole, I wouldn't worry about McTominay and Fred, because they'll either improve or they won't be used. As I said, everybody gets a clean slate. I think if you're judging Fred and McTominay under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, they will be different players under a competent coach and a competent coaching staff. Mason Greenwood and Marcus Rashford, we all love those two players. They've not developed over the last 2 years. They're the same players they were when Ole came here. He doesn't develop players. This will change when we've got proper coaches. We don't, Bruno's no better than when he came to the club. That's ridiculous. Like, Bruno was, 24, 25 when he came to the club? He can still improve his game. We don't develop players. They come in as good. Wan-Bissaka's not developed at Manchester United. He's the same player we bought. They're still good players on their day, but they're not developing as United players. What did Paul Ince say yesterday? I came to United from West Ham as a talented player, and I became a United player because I developed and learnt and grew. Roy Keane came from Forest and grew. Ronaldo came from Sporting Lisbon and grew. The youth players of the class of '92, they came through into the first team and they grew. Players are not growing at United. So everybody gets a clean slate for me. Anything else to talk about? Woodward we spoke about. Week off surprise. Carr, we've done that. Sancho, we've done that. Just be wary of the spin, I suppose. Thanks everybody for watching. 2 o'clock, we'll do a bit of a Q&A, of course. I think we need a bit of therapy. And thanks everyone for tuning in. I will speak to you all in a bit. Take care and look out for yourselves. And thanks everyone who's part of the community. Really appreciate it. I will speak to you in a bit.